freedom and our divine freedoms. That's our theme for this month. We'll explore freedom to explore spiritual truths. And during today's message, Rev Ron Holdaway, who's wearing a couple of hats today, he looks to our freedom to explore spiritual truths. And we may all too often take these freedoms for granted. But trust me, as we know, there's a lot of people around the world who do not have the freedoms that we have to express our spiritual truths and to explore the spiritual truths that, are available to us when we go within, and we can come and share things as well here in Unity's Principles. By the way, that class, Gospel According to Thomas, explores how the Gospel According to Thomas parallels with some of the principles, Unity's 5 principles. Anyway, going back to Ron's message today, he's going to share our... Is that me? Thunder. Oh, thunder. Ooh. If that was me, I have got more power than I thought.
It's you.
That's you.
It is me. Okie dokie. I'm powerful. Sorry, got off track. And anyway, we want to celebrate that freedom to seek spiritual truths and to find what is ours to do. Reverend Ron will give us some examples from his personal journey, as well as several noted spiritual leaders and authors, and he, I'm sure, will enlighten us as he always does. So without further ado, let's welcome up Reverend Ron.
Yeah. Thank you, Susan. Good morning. So, surprise, surprise, here I am again. So, I'll just tell you, Melissa is still in a recharging her battery, recovering, and so I'm sure we'll get an update here pretty soon about all that. She's doing well. So, like Susan said, the theme for this month was freedom. Actually, the 4th of July kind of triggered that when we started. So the spiritual leadership team came up with these topics. Last month I did a talk about freedom to explore and live in liminal space. Today the topic is freedom to explore spiritual truths. So today's message isn't about giving you answers. It's about giving you permissions. So just remember that as I go through this. This is about giving you permission, not about giving you answers. So as I reflected on the title of this talk this week, I walked into my office and I just stood there, looked around. I had the strange feeling that the answer was somehow already in the room, but I couldn't explain why. Shelves and shelves and shelves of books as I was standing in the middle of the room. You know the ones: Richard Rohr, Charles Fillmore, Brian McLaren, Eric Butterworth, on and on and on. Thomas Merton. I could be here all day if I just listed what was there. And I'll list somebody else. John Shelby Spong, if I didn't say him, he's definitely need to be listed. So I started thinking about this, and I pulled just a few books off the shelf, and I said, well, I'm going to key some points from each one of these. Well, before I knew it, I had 15 books laying on my desk. And I said, no, that's not the right approach. So I stood there again. I said, the truth is here. Then a strange thought came to me. If the truth is in the books, why do I still keep looking? Why do I still keep looking? Hundreds of books. So it came to me, one of the greatest possessions that we have, isn't political. It isn't economic. It isn't even religious. The greatest freedom we have is to question. The freedom to change our minds. The freedom to discover that today's understanding may become tomorrow's stepping stone. The freedom to outgrow yesterday's understanding without abandoning yesterday's sincerity. So after years of seeking, a seeker asked his mentor, where can he find truth? His mentor said, his teacher said, find the well and ask the well, and it will reveal truth. So he did that. He crossed the village, and he went to the well, and he spoke into the well. And the well came back and said, go to the crossroads, and you'll find 3 shops. So he did that. There was a metal shop. One was wood, and one was thin pieces of metal, and that's what he found, the 3 stores. No one seemed to have anything to do with the revelation of truth. Disappointed, he went back to the well and to the seeker, to his teacher, to say, hey, I don't get it. This didn't help. He was told, you will understand in due time. The man protested, but all he got in return were echoes from the well. So he had felt he had been made a fool for talking into the well and didn't get any answers. Years passed, and the man once again was on his journey seeking truth. Years and years and years passed. He began to get older and older, seeing things more completely. So one night in the village, he was walking around, and the sound of the sitar, that's the long neck guitar if you remember, caught his attention. This is after years later speaking into the well, asking for truth. It was beautiful, and the mastery was inspirational, and profoundly, the truth seeker felt drawn to the player of the sitar. He looked at the musician's fingers over the strings, and he began to really see the sitar itself. And then he knew the sitar was made of wires, pieces of wood, and metal, just like those he had seen in the 3 stores at the crossroads. At last, at last he understood the message of the well. We've already been given everything we need. Our task is to perceive, our task is to use it, assemble it, and use it. Nothing is as meaningful as long as we perceive only separate fragments. But as soon as we see fragments as a whole, a new unity emerges. What are the spiritual truths we keep searching for, exploring and searching for? Excuse me again. Charles Fillmore reminds us that truth is not something we manufacture. Truth is something we awaken to. Divine mind already knows the truth. Our work is to become still enough to recognize it. Truth is not an opinion. Truth is our alignment with divine mind. Modern teachers say the same thing. Richard Rohr often says, I was going to quote Richard Rohr too, we do not think ourselves into a new way of living. I think I used that same quote last week because it's so good. We live ourselves into a new way of thinking. So what are we searching for? In the book, I love this book. It's on one of the shelves in my office. Perennial Wisdom for the Spiritually Independent. Perennial wisdom has been around since the 18th century. It's perennial means like the flowers, it comes back. It keeps reappearing as ancient wisdom in every spiritual text. Different teachers bring it up. So the perennial wisdom suggests 5 questions on this exploration of spiritual truth. It's more of a quest on what comes to our heart when we think about our quest. The perennial wisdom asks, who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? How should I live? How shall I live? And I like the last one. Why? So those are the questions that spiritual teachers and mystics keep using, keep coming up perennially throughout the ages. And if you think about that, that's what it is. So on your spiritual journey, perhaps every book I've read, every sermon I've heard, every teacher I've admired, every retreat I've attended, every question that I've wrestled with wasn't trying to give me the truth. They were trying to awaken the truth that was already in me, already living in me. Y'all have heard of John Lewis. You heard his stories about getting beating up, his beating at the Silman Evans Bridge. I think that's the name, Evans Pettus Bridge, sorry. But it's a long story, you know the story. But he wrote, "You are a light." He wrote that in his autobiography. "You are a light. You are the light. Never let anyone, any person, or any force dampen, dim, or diminish your light. Study the path of others to make your way easier and more abundant. Lean toward the whispers of your own heart. Discover the universal truth and follow its dictates. You are the light. You are the light." So the opposite of spiritual exploration isn't doubt. It's certainty. Once we believe we've arrived, we stop growing. The infinite can never be completely contained inside one book, one doctrine, one religion, or even one lifetime. So we keep exploring and questioning. So you've heard this analogy. Just as the wave one day finally realizes it is never separate from the ocean, an individual manifestation of the ocean, but never separate. Everything we experience is arising from the same infinite presence. We call it God, reality, grounded being, Brahma, Shiva, Allah, the absolute, the non-dual. Many names all pointing to the same reality. We are not searching for God. We are awakening to the present, to the presence that has never left us. So just a minute ago, when I opened, I said I knew the truth that I seek was right there in my office as I stood there looking. It was, it was there because I was there. The truth was there because I was there. Your spiritual truth is always in you. We're reminded to practice and awaken to that truth that is in us. Awaken to the truth that is in us. A Unity minister, Reverend Scott Aubrey, he lives in Oregon. When he first moved there, a friend of his took him out to these, and my son lives in Oregon, so I've experienced some of this. Took him out to a tree that his friend said, she said, this tree, they've said, is 800 years old. So he felt very challenged, and he felt himself drawn to that spot. We've got some in that room in this room that gravitate to the trees and hug the trees like he did. He said, I remembered how good and perfect this is, and I thought, if this tree can just continue on, just being itself, can I? Can I feel just as anchored as the truth of who I am? Just like the tree, feeling anchored to who I am. So this week, whenever you catch yourself pausing, searching, pause for a minute. Just pause for a minute. Take one breath, slow breath, and ask one question. You could ask the perennial questions if you like, but for this exercise, ask one question. What is the truth within me that is trying to awaken right now?
Say that again.
What truth within me is trying to awaken right now? Maybe the truth you're seeking has always been quietly waiting for you all along. Standing in my office, the spiritual, what I saw, the answer was in me, was there because I was there. The truth I was searching for was in the room because I was there. One thing is certain in this journey that we do in spiritual truth. God has never feared our questions. Never. Only institutions sometimes do. You know what I mean by that? Only institutions do. So we're going to do this a little different this morning. I want you just to close your eyes, if you would, with me, since we're talking about this place that is in us, where the presence that we seek, the answers that we seek and we explore are already within us. So I invite you just to become comfortable in your chair. Close your eyes if that's comfortable. And let's take a slow, easy breath. And then release it. And again, another slow breath. Inhale, then exhale. Allow your thoughts to come and go without following them. There is nothing to solve right here in this moment. Nothing to figure out. Nothing to become. Simply be. If you find your thoughts coming and going and you want to follow one of them, just return to your breath and breathe. So this morning I've spoken about freedom to explore spiritual truth. And again, maybe the greatest freedom is discovering that the truth has never been hiding from us. It has been quietly present, waiting, not outside us, but in us. Not outside, but in us. John Shelby Spong encouraged us to live life fully and love wastefully. But I wonder if living fully begins with recognizing who we already are. And perhaps loving wastefully becomes possible only when we awaken to the truth that we have never been separated from the one source. We have never been separated from the one source. So imagine yourself standing in your office, your bedroom, your living room, and it's all filled with books. Books of wisdom, books of teachers, books of questions, books that have inspired generations. Now in your mind's eye, just imagine that, allow every one of those books to fade into the background. Just for a moment, let them fade away. Not because they are unimportant, but because they have fulfilled their purpose. They have brought you here. Now ask yourself, not with your thinking mind. When we ask these questions in meditation, we're not thinking. It's a different thing. We're asking yourself with your heart, with your whole being. So in your heart, ask this question: what truth within me is quietly awakening today? Do not search for an answer. Simply remain open. What truth within me is quietly awakening today? Perhaps nothing comes. This is perfectly enough. Perhaps a feeling arises. Perhaps a word. Perhaps only stillness. Stillness itself is holy, is sacred. What truth within me is quietly awakening today? Remember the image of the wave in your mind's eye. A wave never has to become the ocean. It already is the ocean, expressing itself in a unique form. In the same way, you do not have to become one with God. You already live, move, and have your being in this one presence. You have never been separate. You never could be. And breathe. The truth I seek is already alive within me. And again, in your heart, in your whole being, hold this. The truth I seek is already alive within me. Feel gratitude right now. Not because you have discovered something new, but because you are awakening to what has already been true. Just get a sense of that in your being. We're grateful not because we've discovered something new in this moment, but because you're awakening to what has already been true. So now hold this sacred space for just a few more moments. And we'll rest in the silence with this awareness. In this awareness that the truth I seek is already alive within me. Rest in the silence with me for just a moment. In the silence. Now, ever so gently, as you return your attention to this room, to this physical location, when questions arise, when uncertainty appears, when life invites you to explore, remember, hold this in your awareness, your total awareness. Truth is not far away. It is as close as your awareness right now. Just keep breathing for another moment. And as you begin to return to this room and place, this time and place, this room, remember the books that you faded away. They're still there. They're back. They're back on the shelf. They're back on your floor. They're on your bed. They're all around you. The teachers continue to inspire us, but their greatest gift was never to give us truth. Their greatest gift was to awaken the truth already living within us. May we live from that truth. May we love from that truth. With gratitude for the truth that lies within each of us. With gratitude for the truth that lives within each of us. Take a deep breath. Become aware of this room again. Now begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and be fully present in this place. The truth I was seeking was in the room, because I was in the room. You're in the room. Namaste.
I think that was the most inspirational message that I remember ever hearing. Granted, my memory's great, but from Reverend Ron. One more time, let's give him our thanks and appreciation. We're so grateful for you.